your product is going to pivot. Okay, it's unavoidable, don't you think? The first idea, what you think you bring into market, it will change. It will
Yeah,
not stay, right? The initial thought.
absolutely. You think about Amazon, right? They start off as a bookstore. Where are they now? Right? People don't talk about them as a bookstore anymore. Of course, they do publishing um, online, but they have Whole Food, they have everything, right? So that's companies evolve, and you know, the technology evolved, and then the impact they make also evolves. So you have to not only we talk about being prepared for the journey, you have to always adapt, right, to the market change, to the consumer, to the customer demand change. All those things are important to remember. No matter how well prepared you are, you always run into unexpected. And that's where you adapt your strategy to the day-to-day execution, further addressed and aligned, and then so that you can acclimate to the voice of your customer and then further scale your business.
Absolutely. You know what? I am in huge admiration for tenacity of entrepreneurs, who are able to quit their day jobs, who are able to turn their, life upside down just for this mission. Okay, it's definitely worth all the applause. Let's talk about some interesting elements when people looking for investments, for funds,
Mhm.
without even proving to the market, to themselves, that the idea worth anything. So where do you see this kind of hunger games, coming in for new funding, getting funded, and then what? Because, this kind of attitude hurts companies, hurts reputations, don't you think?
Yeah, I would say that entrepreneurship is not for everyone. As you or you're married to one, you know the kind of the drill they have to go through, right? They bootstrap. There are days that they have limited resources. There are days that there's no progress. There are days that they're about to run out of funds. There are all those hard works, but then the entrepreneurs are the ones, I worked with at least they thrive on strong sense of personal self-efficacy to execute their vision. They have a very keen eye for innovation to identify new products or new markets. They are also great listeners, right? It's not just about listen to what people have to say. They listen to figure out how to turn what they heard into actionable insights. And then they also articulate that vision super well. And then they inspire devotions in others, right? Their risk tolerance level is much higher. Their motivation for achievement is much stronger. So overall, those are kind of the characteristics I've seen. But even you have all those characteristics, it does not guarantee a success for running a company or scaling a startup. This is why you got to hire people who have complementary skill set to help you achieve the goal. When I climbed the Mount Everest base camp, I did not know how it was like. So I hired a Sherpa, right, to come along with me to guide me throughout the journey. That's how you can really be successful to achieve the goal. If I were there alone, I don't think that, first of all, it was not the best approach to do so. Secondly, I probably would have failed like many other people who were on that trip. That 200 people, out of 200 people, only 3 people made it that day. So that tells you the ratio, right? Like startup, 90% of startup failed. There's a reason for them because they don't have experienced people are surrounded by experienced people, or they're not aware of the disconnects that around them. So those are the challenge that they could run into.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Great points again, Helen. So to me, again, there is this kind of dilemma between a very practical approach, right, of thinking about your company, of strategizing, making right priorities. At the same time, if you're not a dreamer, a big time,
Yeah.
right, nothing is going to happen. So where do you think this balance? Because go to market is very practical step. You have to put all the right channels together, right? All the
Mhm.
right strategies, and they have to work. Otherwise, again, right, you're always on this on high risk of disappearing. So where do you think this beautiful dreamer kind of mindset works in balance with their practical, pragmatic approaches?
Yeah, I have to say that having worked with many entrepreneurs, I realized that there's no such thing called being balanced. Despite of the in spite of the desire to balance, because it's really depends on what part of journey you're on, right? In that journey, there are days you're like pulling out hairs. You pulling out hair. There are days you like working 16 hours a day. You don't see any uh, outcome. But then there are also days like customer really you start really gaining traction that you celebrate, right? You celebrate those milestones, small milestones with your team. So I think really to turn something, I would always say start focus on something small each time you build a small milestone, right? Like for example, I worked with this AI company years ago. This is about 4 years ago, where they were at a time only had two customers, right? Their ARR was 175K. They're trying to really build this voice activated AI solution, and then they only going after the financial service vertical. So I gather the team in the room. There, multiple co-founders were in the room. We started with the branding strategy, right? I asked each of them, can you give me 3 words to describe what this company is about? So none of them could come up with 3 words, right? They give me 3 paragraphs, a whiteboard. Later on, we spent the entire week finally came up with 3 words, right? So that we realized, because they initially started this to ask financial questions, right? To say, hey, they asked this AI app to say, can you tell me how much I spent during my trip in California in the past months? So then they pull in all the data information to tell you how much you spend, and then they can tell you how much money you have left to spend. So it was really quite interesting, but I challenged them. I said, what if people who can afford traveling, what if people don't have credit card? What are you going to do? They just pay cash. This app cannot track. Is that really a problem you're trying to solve? So then we finally realized that this solution does not only apply to people with bank account. You can do the drive-through. If you go to McDonald's drive-through, you can order using the app to order, place your order. If you're in car driving, you can leverage the same solution to leverage this voice activated assistant to ask, hey, do I have enough gasoline to drive here from my next destination? Where's the next gas station? So we were able to expand them from 1 vertical to 3, expand them from 2 customers to 36 within a year. So they grew the ARR from 170K to 4.5 million in the year, right? Just by going through that exercise, asking the question, for them to realize what is the solution is really about, what is the problem we're trying to solve. We have all the capabilities, but what exactly our ICP or ideal customer profile should be? How do we expand our thinking to really make it really target different types of profile customers, or broader have a broader use case, right, for our solution? So that's very simple, sounds very simple, but it takes time, because they're all brilliant founders, right? They understand technology inside and out, but they don't necessarily understand what questions to ask, at what point to ask these questions, and how to accelerate the growth, extending their market share.